Good evening. Welcome to the November 10th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. You're used to seeing our very capable Chairman Tom Messina in this seat, and he's taking a excuse me, a rare night off, and we wish him the best. And don't worry about Tom; he'll be back with us next month. With the help of our planning and legal staff, the rest of us will muddle through this hearing tonight in Tom's absence. So with that, Shanna, would you do the roll call, please?
Messina. Fleming.
Here.
Ingalls.
Here.
Lutrip.
Here.
Mandel.
Here.
Rumpler.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Next, if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get into the minutes, I'd just like to mention that we have two public hearings tonight. For folks that are here in the audience, there's not many. Sign-up sheets on the back of the room. That's how you sign up if you choose to participate in the public hearings. If you're out there in Zoom land and wish to participate in the public hearings, you would go to the public hearing sign-up sheet link that we have, and that's https://www.cdaid.org/sign-in-public/. So check out that link, and while we're working our way towards that, if you could try to get signed up, and we'll check in with you when it's time for the public hearings. So with that, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
I'll move to approve. Okay. Yeah, and he'll second.
Commissioner Fleming moved to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Second by Ward. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public comments. Not many people in the audience, but if someone wants to make a public comment on really a planning item not related to the hearings, anyone wishing to make a general comment? Seeing none, we will move to staff comments.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Just a few comments for you. So you noticed on your agenda that our third public hearing, which was the Title 17, so zoning code, housekeeping, we're postponing that to December. We realized that there were two other things we wanted to bring forward with that. There's some language in our subdivision code as well related to the notice of decision. So we wanted to make sure that it's consistent in both sections of the code. And then also some landscaping buffering that's in our commercial design guidelines. So we wanted to make sure the language is all consistent. So we'll bring that forward to you. And then also wanted to alert the commission and the public that we're doing our Coeur housing community meeting virtually on Zoom next week. So on the 19th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. We're sending out a press release. We'll get emails out to you. We'll put information on city's website and social media to let people know how to log in and participate on that. That's that infill housing code we are currently working on. So those are the main items, and then I'll wait to do the Envision update until that agenda item. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Commission comments? Any commissioner comments? Not tonight. Staff, Envision CDA update, also known as the comp plan. Any update there?
We do, and actually, Randy just reminded me I should let the commission know as well. Jake Plagerman, our planning technician, is leaving us for a career change. So we're sad to see him go, but excited for him. He's going to be pursuing a teaching career. So his last day is this Thursday, but he's been such an amazing part of our team, and you've seen him come before you with some presentations. He's been helping on even our core housing and our comp plan project. So we're grateful for all he's done, and hopefully we can find someone as good to help out. But on the Envision Coeur d'Alene, so yes, our comprehensive plan update, we're working in collaboration with CDA 2030 on that and our consultant MIG. And you'll be receiving soon another email update with some information about upcoming meetings and workshops we'll be bringing forward. And then also sending you the policy framework document. So that's kind of the outline, not the table of contents, but really diving more into what are the goals, what are the objectives, what are those action items, and the guiding principles. So we'll be sending that. And then you'll also receive a link to participate in a brief survey, kind of helping guide the document on some priority action items. So look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. We will jump into our public hearings. We have two, as I mentioned. The first one is Tammy Stroud will lead us through the first public hearing. Your show, Tammy. And let me just jump in. The way this will work is Tammy will give a staff report, and then we will allow the applicants some time. And I understand we're going to do that via Zoom in this case, and so bear with us there. The applicant will have time to do that, and then we'll have public comment. Anyone in the audience or Zoom land will get a chance to provide public comment, and then the commission will deliberate and take action. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. So the first item is a request for a zone change from R12 to R17. And the property owner is Apartment Broker Incorporated, 401K plan, and with Glenn Sather, who is here tonight. And the architect or the representative for this project is Glenn Lenker, and he's joined us via Zoom. So this is a zone change from R12 to R17. And the property is located between 6th Place and 7th Street along East Haycraft Avenue. Best Avenue is further to the south of this project, and the property is commonly known as 654 East Haycraft. The notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on October 24th, 2020. So this is a location map of the property, and this yellow outline outlines the entire parcel. And the subject property, as I mentioned, is located between 6th Place and 7th Street along Haycraft Avenue. Haycraft is located here. And the parcel is a split zone piece of land located within two different zoning districts. So the area here, colored in with the red, is zoned R12, and this area, bordered by the yellow, is R17. So the applicant is requesting this be rezoned, which is R12 to R17, but we've outlined the entire parcel. So the western portion of the subject, again, is zoned R17. It has two 4-unit multifamily structures on it. The eastern portion of the subject property is currently vacant. With the approval of the zone change, the property owner would like to construct additional multifamily structures, adding approximately 10 units to this site. According to the county assessor's office, the existing multifamily structures were constructed in 2011. And the zoning ordinance does require that multifamily uses be zoned R17, and as I mentioned, this is R12. And this is a bird's eye view of the property, and this is Best Avenue with Haycraft located here. And this is the outline again of the entire parcel, and the area they're asking for the zone change request is here. So there are 4 required findings for this request for a zone change. Finding B8, that this proposal is or is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And this area is designated as Northeast Prairie, and it is in this purple area, which is stable established. These areas where the character of the neighborhoods have largely been established and in general should be maintained. The street network and number of building lots, and in general, the land uses are not expected to change greatly within the planning period. And I've included 4 comprehensive plan objectives, and there are additional ones located in your staff report on pages 6 and 7. So natural environment, economic environment, home environment, and administrative environment. Finding B9, that public facilities and utilities are not available and adequate for this proposed use. So we got comments from city staff, including engineering, streets, water, fire, parks, and wastewater departments. Each department has indicated that there are adequate public facilities and public utilities to serve this proposed zone change request, and there was no objection to this request for a zone change. But certain requirements will be triggered should the applicant come in with a particular use on this property. As far as streets, the subject property is bordered by Haycraft Avenue to the north, and Haycraft Avenue currently meets city design standards, and that was submitted by Chris Bosley, our city engineer. As far as finding B10, that physical characteristics of the site do or do not make it suitable for the request at this time. And the site is generally flat. There are no topographical or physical constraints that would make the subject property unsuitable for the zone change from R12 to R17 at this time. And this is the topo map I've included. These are 5-foot contours. As you can see, it's relatively flat. And here are the two multifamily buildings that currently sit on the site, and this area is vacant. I took some site photos, and this is looking south at a portion of the subject property along Haycraft Avenue. And on the earlier picture outlining the area, this is the area that comes to the point, and this is a portion of one of the 4-unit multifamily structures. And again, this is the multifamily structure, and it goes further south here as far as the subject portion of the property that is wanting the zone change. So this is looking southeast at the interior portion of the subject property. I drove down the driveway and took a photo of that interior portion. It does abut some single-family homes, and further south here is Best Avenue. And this is another site photo of interior portion looking south toward Best. And this is a view of the subject property on the interior side, and I'm looking north toward Haycraft Avenue. Finding B11, that the proposal would or would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. So the proposed zone change itself would not adversely affect the surrounding area with regard to traffic. There is no additional traffic generated from a zone change alone. However, the applicant states that 10 additional multifamily units are planned for this property, and the ITE trip generation manual estimates that additional 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. peak hour trips could be expected from the proposed development. Finding B11, that the proposal would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood, and this is a continuation. Streets and Engineering Department had no objection to this request for a zone change as proposed. And this is the zoning map. Again, this is the outline of the entire parcel with the subject property here with the broken line. It is zoned R12. This is R17. And the other portion of that property is also R17. So just east, north, and then along the west side, they are all zoned R12 with some red, which is C17. And then further down, you've got a little mixture of C17 and R12. So proposed R17 district is intended as a medium-high density residential district that permits a mix of housing types. It permits single-family, duplex, and multifamily. The district is for establishment in those areas that are not suitable for lower density residential due to proximity to more intensive types of land uses. And it is appropriate as a transition between low-density residential and commercial districts, or as a buffer between arterial streets and low-density residential districts. And in your staff report, I've also included this list, which includes the principal uses that are permitted in the R17 zone. And it does include single-family housing, duplex housing, multifamily housing. And this is a zone change map. It shows a few zone changes that are surrounding or nearby that piece of property. So there was one south of it, but it has that frontage along Best, and another one. So this zone change in 06 went from R12 to R17. This zone change further to the southwest of the property was R12 to C17. And then on the south side of Best Avenue, further south, was R12 to R17. The other areas remain the same. And this is a land use map. So, as I mentioned, there is some multifamily located here. This is vacant. The yellow indicates single family. with some commercial uses around it. And then just to the north, that's a civic use. There's an existing religious assembly use located there. Decision point, the Planning Commission must consider this request and make separate findings to approve, deny, or deny without prejudice. And the Planning Commission will need to approve, deny, or deny without prejudice. Any questions for staff?
Thank you, Tammy. Questions? No? We will invite the applicant next. Applicant is coming by Zoom, we believe?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Are you,
Well, good
Are you
evening,
Glenn?
Vice Chairman and
Says Glenn.
Planning Commission members.
are you
My name is
Glenn?
Glenn Lanker, and my address is
Glenn?
1029 East Shadowwood Lane. And
Let's do in
as
it.
was mentioned, I'm the architect representing the applicant on the project this evening. I'm sorry I can't be with you. I'm a little under the weather, and I thought I'd better keep all this good stuff to myself. And so bear with me as I try to go through this via Zoom, and you've got a great asset there in Chaz, who's been a tremendous help getting this set up, help me get this set
Glenn?
up, and I'm sure he'll come to my rescue if need
Glenn,
be.
can you hear us?
Can you hear me okay?
Well, you need to swear you in.
I don't think he
Glenn, are you
Sorry,
there?
say again?
Glenn, we'll need to swear you in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand, sir, and state your name and, please, for the record?
Sure. My name is Glenn Lanker. My address is 1029 East Shadowwood Lane in Coeur d'Alene.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Now proceed. Thank you.
You bet. A lot of good information has been shared in the staff review and presentation, and so my purpose is just to briefly highlight a few of the important comp plan objectives and how this site and what is being proposed are a very good fit for that. Even though tonight just the zone change is being considered, we did put forth a proposed project design, and we'll just share a few glimpses of that again, just to illustrate how these comp plan principles have been intentionally incorporated into what's being proposed, as well as being a great site for this kind of transitional use. And this zone change application would also allow, as you see and saw in Tammy's exhibits, that it will clear up the anomaly of one property having two zoning designations. So that would be a good thing to clear that up as well. These next few slides are just an outline of some of the important comp plan criteria, both in the staff review and in our narrative that we submitted. And I'm not going to go through all those, but these are the important ones that we paid attention to, and I'll just highlight briefly when we talk about how they would apply to this site. This is some criteria from comp plan that's specific to the Northeast Prairie neighborhood, which says that this type of use is appropriate in areas that are compatible. And then here's some additional comp plan objectives that were outlined in the staff review, in addition to what we listed in the application narrative. The other thing that I think is the city really should be commended on the issue of this missing middle income housing, or missing middle housing forms, excuse me. I know there's been a lot of good work on the part of commission, staff, citizens committee to draft this infill housing ordinance. That's exciting. I did attend this forum a year ago in August, and it was great to see. I'm familiar with the work of that firm, and it's great to see that's been embraced here, and there's a critical need for it. And again, I think that this proposal hopefully fits that criteria well, and it will be a good example of that going forward. Again, I know this is a zone change application, but this comp plan criteria, I just want to show in what's being proposed, how it fits those objectives very well. So you can see that here is the two existing buildings that are a total of 8 units. Here's what's being proposed. And there's a few things to point out that are consistent with those comp plan objectives. Number one, we're creating some important landscape courtyard areas that are pedestrian friendly, that all the units face on. Here is one here, and we're preserving existing trees wherever possible. And there's another one over here. It's important that we've allowed for parking. Each unit has its own, as the existing units they have their own enclosed parking, but it's to the rear of the units. And so it frees up the front of the units. Each has an exterior porch facing these landscape courtyards. It makes for a lot more pleasant and pedestrian friendly environment. This site is a great source of infill housing. It discourages sprawl. It is an example of utilizing existing infrastructure that is adequate and available, and rather than trying to extend infrastructure out in undeveloped areas. So the other thing it's important to point out is that in these 3 buildings, we'll look at the massing and some other aspects of those, but the total, based on if this zoning application approval is done, then we would have a total potential number of units of 19. What's being proposed is actually one less to preserve some of this open space and some of these other amenities, which we believe are really important. This is a 3-dimensional rendering of what's being proposed, and just to point out a few things. So here's Haycraft, here's the existing buildings, and this is that one landscaped area with some natural trees and so forth that every unit has an exterior balcony looks out on. The parking is behind at the rear of the units, as you can see, both for these units here and then back here. So it's instead of your front door facing a parking lot or creating conflicts between pedestrian and auto traffic, those are both accounted for and convenient but separated. And this becomes a fantastic common public space where kids are safe to play and people can enjoy part of the neighborhood without worrying about essentially living in the middle of a parking lot. The other thing to point out briefly is that as you saw in the exhibits, this is existing single-family residential. This is existing multifamily. There's some commercial to the south here, adjacent to Best Avenue. These buildings, these 3 buildings, these 10 additional units, they're scaled and designed and massed to be essentially, they look like essentially large single-family homes. And they all have 1-story side wings that step up to a 2-story portion in the middle. So instead of just one large 2-story box, we've sensitively looked at designing these to fit in and be a good transition from the single family to the multifamily and fit well be compatible within the existing neighborhood. You'll hear from the owner, Glenn Sather, who built these units. They're well done. They have enclosed parking inside. They have nice finishes. He's long-term. He'll share more about his background and his long-term commitment to the community and helping to meet this need. Here's some other renderings, some other views of those 3-dimensional renderings, just to give an idea of what the eye-level view would look like walking in and around these. This front courtyard connects to, there's a strong pedestrian connection to Hayworth. And then between this garage existing building, there's another one that goes to the units further to the back. We would encourage the option of also having a pedestrian connection to the south if possible, and would suggest that to the neighboring property owner, maybe when that property is developed, to give pedestrian access out to the commercial corridor. But you'll notice that the buildings are compatible and consistent in detailing, but they're all unique in different colors and executed differently, so that, again, they look like a series of single-family homes that are being designed to fit well into this neighborhood and be a good transition. With that, I can answer any questions the commission may have, and we really appreciate your time and attention. And if there are no questions, Glenn Sather would like to just introduce himself and make a couple comments briefly as well, if you don't mind.
Okay, Glenn, thank you very much. Any questions from the commission? None here. You'll get a chance, Glenn, to have any rebuttal or closing. We will call up any folks that are in the audience as well as Zoom land and see what participation we have there. I have one person signed up on my sign-up sheet, Glenn Sather. Did you wish to make public comments, sir?
Yeah, I just don't think it's necessary unless you have questions of me. Glenn has done a great job of creating.
Could I swear you in?
Sure.
Name, please,
Glenn Sather.
and will you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Now proceed.
Okay, Glenn Sather. I'm the trustee of the entity that owns this property. I just wanted to say that I'm a long-term resident of the area, 30-plus years, and I've been in the apartment business for a long time, and I've tried to incorporate a lot of the features and amenities that I have appreciated in my brokerage business into these new buildings that Glenn has put together. And so I manage this property myself. I intend to keep doing that, and my goal has always been to bring value and to the tenants, and if you were to talk to my tenants, they would confirm that I care deeply about those tenants, and I maintain the buildings in a fashion that everybody can be proud of, including me and the tenants. So I think, unless you have questions, that's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
That's all that I have signed up. Is there anyone from Zoom land?
We have one, Mr. Vice Chair. So we have Karen Castleman, and I'm not positive because the names don't match on Zoom. There's one that might be Karen. Karen, if you're on, can you please use the Zoom hand function so we can identify you and give you speaking abilities? I am not seeing anyone do that. So, yeah, it's possible they didn't clarify wish to testify or not, so maybe they're just acknowledging their position on it and not wanting, just listening.
Okay, no further public testimony? So with that, I would ask Glenn Lenker out there in Zoom land, would you care to make a rebuttal or any closing comment?
Not at this point, if there's nothing to respond to.
Okay,
Are there any other questions?
just wanted to check. Okay, thank you very much. With that, we will close public testimony, close the hearing. And before we make any discussion or motions, I should have asked the commission if there's any conflicts of interest.
No.
Seeing none, okay. Commission, any discussion, motions?
I have a quick comment I'd like to make. I appreciate the design aspects in keeping with a lot of the things we're trying to address with step backs, not just setbacks, so that the mass of the structure isn't as imposing as perhaps they used to build them to, and or we still see out there. And so this is a nice complement toward that single-family look. within that neighborhood. So I do appreciate that approach.
Right on. Commissioner Fleming.
And I've got a few, that was an excellent point. I like the idea that you're saving the trees as much as you can, and I understand there's a lot of them. So, and the other thing is I really like the consolidation of what is almost a landlocked parcel, and it utilizes it subtly, and I think it's tucked in nicely. It fills in a hole, as you say, your donut hole, and seeing that the maximizing it at an R17 just makes sense. We've got lots of business around that lead, lots of employee housing, and it's a nice fill-in, so.
Alden?
Just curious why the one that we're rezoning to 17 wasn't on 17 when the one top of it was.
First place, yeah.
Good historical
That's why it's
question. Good historical question. Huh?
Get back to us on that.
Yeah. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Somebody out
What
there.
about, what about out
Oh.
there? What about our
Oh.
guys, our other
Out in
team
Zoom land.
members?
Commissioners in
Out
Zoom land.
Zoomland.
Care to
I
weigh in?
don't have any questions or comments. I think they've been covered by Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Fleming.
Thank
Yeah, I have
you.
no questions.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Please.
This matter having come before the Planning Commission on November 10th, 2020, and there being present a person requesting approval of ZC-6-20, a request for a zone change from R12 to R17 zoning district. The applicant is Apartment Brokers, Inc., 401K plan. Location is Haycraft Estates, a portion of Lot 1, Block 1, commonly known as 654 East Haycraft. We'll accept the findings for adopting the items B1 through 7, which is public meetings, et cetera. And B8, that this proposal is in conformance with the comp plan policies as follows. It does utilize the natural environment, it discourages sprawl, it adds to a diverse mix of quality infill. We allow for workforce housing, which has great demand in that area, and that we preserve the existing neighborhood in a cohesive and very thoughtful way. B9, that public facilities and utilities are available and adequate for the proposed use. Our various departments weighed in and all acknowledged there was adequate services with no objections. I do note that we'll use probably some of the parking area in the rear as a hammerhead turnaround, but there's plenty of asphalt to do fire turnaround. B10, that the physical characteristics of the site do make it suitable for the request at this time because it's basically flat. And B11, that the proposal would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhoods with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. Very limited traffic out of 10 additional units, and or 18 units, pardon me. And that conclusion and decision, the Planning Commission pursuant to the aforementioned finds that the requested Apartment Brokers, Inc. 401K plan for zone change as described in the application should be approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Fleming. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ward. Roll call. Shanna?
Fleming,
Yes.
Lutrip,
Yes.
Rumpler,
Yes,
Mandel,
Yes,
Ward.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, unanimous recommendation. This will be a recommendation to the city council. Thank you very much. Next public hearing, Tammy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, and good evening again. So the next request for a zone change is located, let's see, at 1609 College Way. So the owner is Norman Anderson, and the engineer is Lake City Engineering, and Drew Dittman is here this evening. And it is a request for a zone change from R12 to LM, which is light manufacturing. So it's located between La Crosse Avenue and Mill Avenue, and on the west side of College Way, commonly known as 1609 College Way. The legal notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on October 24th, 2020. So I zoomed out on this map to give you a good idea of where this is located. This is Government Way here, running north and south, and Northwest Boulevard. Mill Avenue here, and La Crosse here. And this is zoomed in a little more. So this is actually the parcel outlined in the red where the zone change request is. If you look on our maps, it does show one large lot. They appear to be consolidated, but the underlying lots show that there are 3 lots. The applicant actually owns all 3 of these lots. He is the property owner of Tapley's as well. So again, the request is only for this area here outlined in the red. And this is another aerial photo, gives you a good idea. Tapley's is located here, and they are the property owner of both of these. A little background information. Again, the property is located between La Crosse Avenue and Mill Avenue and on the west side of College Way. The subject property is immediately adjacent to Tapley's Cabinet Works, and this property is a vacant parcel. With the approval of the proposed zone change, Tapley Cabinet Works intends to expand and incorporate the property into their existing production facilities. The original cabinet business on the south side of the subject property has been in its current location since approximately 1940. So after we did a little more research, I noted in the staff report 1976, but it has been there since 1940. So the zoning ordinance requires a light manufacturing use to be located in the LM zoning district because it is not allowed in R12. So by rezoning the subject property, additional storage and assembly areas will be located on that site with the construction of a new building. And that new building would have the appearance of a residential structure outside, but would provide additional storage and space needed for its current business. So again, there are 4 required findings for this requested zone change. Finding B8, that this proposal is or is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And this area, or this subject property is located within the North 4th Street area, and it's also in transition. And it's where the areas where the character of the neighborhood is in transition and should be developed with care. The street network and number of building lots and general land use are expected to change greatly within the planning period. And here are 4 plan objectives from the comprehensive plan. There are additional ones located in your staff report. Finding B9, that the public facilities and utilities are or not available and adequate for the proposed use. So we did hear from engineering, streets, water, fire, parks, and wastewater departments. And the comments are in your staff report. And each department has indicated that there are adequate public facilities and public utilities available to serve the proposed zone change request. And the subject property is bordered by College Way to the east, and a sidewalk would be required along the College Way frontage at the time of construction. Finding B10, physical characteristics. That the physical characteristics of the site do or do not make it suitable for the request at this time. So this site has a gentle slope downward and to the west, and there are no other topographical or physical constraints that would make the subject property unsuitable for the change of the zoning from R12 to light manufacturing. And this is the topo map, and this area here right along College Way is pretty flat, and then it does taper gradually to the west, and they are 5-foot contours. And this is looking west from College Way at the subject property. As you can see, it is fairly flat here, but it does slightly taper down to the west. This is a view looking northwest on College Way, looking north. So as I mentioned, the subject property is probably located around here, and the next 2 parcels are vacant, and there's a single-family dwelling unit existing on the corner of Mill and College Way. And this is looking north along College Way toward the subject property. And again, this is just a portion of the Tapley business with some vacant lots here, and then closer to Mill, single families. And this is looking west along College Way at the existing office building that does support Tapley Cabinets Workshop. And this is looking east along College Way at the existing single-family dwellings just across the street from the business and the vacant site. And this is looking north along College Way at some neighboring homes. And then this is looking the view along College Way looking south toward Winton Elementary. Finding B11, that the proposal would or would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. So again, the proposed zone change itself would not adversely affect the surrounding area with regard to traffic. The applicant shows that an approximately 1,600 square foot storage building is planned for the property. The IT trip generation manual estimates that fewer than one peak hour trip per day, either AM or PM, could be expected as a result of this. The Streets and Engineering Department has no objection to the zone change as proposed. And Streets and Engineering did not have any objection to this request. So this is the zoning map. And the subject property is currently zoned R12, and as you can see to the north and across College Way to the east is also zoned R12. Just to the south, where the existing Tapley's Cabinet Works is, this is all light manufacturing zone, and that zone change was done in approximately 1989. Proposed light manufacturing district. The LM district is intended to include manufacturing, warehousing, and industry that is conducted indoors with minimal impact on the environment. This district should be located close to a major or principal arterial, as is suitable as a buffer for heavy industry. In this district, development of manufacturing land uses in an industrial park and away from residential or sensitive areas are encouraged. The following is a list of a few of the principal uses that are permitted in the light manufacturing zoning district. So we've got the light manufacturing in addition to these other uses that would be permitted in light manufacturing. And this is the zone change map, and as you can see, there's just only been a couple of zone changes. The first one was ZC 989, which is where Tapley's is now, and that went from R12 to light manufacturing. And ZC 804, and I believe this was R12 to C17L. So this is our land use map. The yellow indicates single-family dwellings around these areas, and this is currently vacant. And then the manufacturing use, and further south, we've got the civic use, which is the school. So the Planning Commission must consider this request and make separate findings to approve, deny, or deny without prejudice.
Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate that. Any questions?
I have a quick question, and maybe it may come later, but I noted in a couple of these letters that start time, do we have any light manufacturing labor time, start time restrictions when we're adjacent to a residential?
I don't believe we do. I think we've got our city code, I believe, is clarified that with me. If you would, 7
There's
a.m. to
something related
10.
to the noise, right?
It's
So
the
disturbance,
noise
the noise and the ground disturbance activities are limited.
They have high frequency blades running, so just a question is, and it's more about the adjacency proximity to residential, but they're not immediately adjacent, they're somewhat catty corner across. Okay, all right, thanks.
So go ahead. Ben.
Did I hear 1994 or 1940?
That's correct.
What was that?
So the applicant's engineer can give you a little more background, but this business actually started there in 1940. And it's
So
changed.
it's been in long standing,
Yes, it
and
has.
it's next to another light manufacturing.
Well, that
It's
whole
all
area
one.
encompasses Tapley.
It's all theirs.
Yes, all of
They
this
have their
area.
shops there, they have their paint shop, I go in and out a
I'm
lot.
just thinking it's a small additive.
Yeah, and that little gray building that's new, that's a
You had
renovation.
mentioned a sidewalk,
Yes, the engineering department would require sidewalks to be.
and how far is it from Winton School?
Gosh, I
Across the
don't
street.
have the exact distance. but
About.
The site photo gives you a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
So
there.
I was a quarter of the way up the block here on College Way, and that's how far south it is
Like
here on the
300
site photo.
feet, maybe? About 300 feet.
Has the city received any complaints over the last several years on noise and so forth from light manufacturing?
I don't recall getting any on it.
Usually when that happens, you get a lot of noise, you hear a lot.
That's correct,
Thank you very much.
yes. And I'll give you a little background too on the lot size, just to give you a better idea as you follow up for you. So the lot size is .11 acre. It's 4,791 square feet. So,
So Tammy, some of the, I'm sorry, were you done? Commissioner, you done?
Pardon me?
Were you done?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
That's a good photo of my question. There's, some comments that we've received by email in advance. And folks are saying, that this would maybe, pinch the parking on College Way. As you see right there, there's a couple cars in front of that frontage. I guess by right now, someone could build a house there, or whatever's allowed in that zone, the current zoning,
That's correct.
and take a driveway or whatever off of that. I mean, sometimes would you agree that we tend to, we see vacant lots as kind of our entitlement, if you will, when really there's a right there that could be used. So, but folks are kind of saying they would prefer if the access was off the back. We'll see what the applicant has to say to that, but, okay. Guess there's a question in there somewhere. No.
There was. I think we'll leave that
By
for-
right, someone could build a house there, and it would compete against, they would have an access entitlement.
That's correct. And they would have to provide 2 parking stalls for a single-family dwelling unit.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
So next up is our applicant, Drew Dittman.
Okay.
Technology.
I know. Okay, I know why. There he goes, he's doing it for you.
So you know the drill.
I do. I do.
Name for the record, please.
Drew Dittman, Lake City Engineering.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth?
I do.
So help you God. Thank
I
you.
do.
Please.
Good evening, Acting Chairman Ingalls, Commissioners, Drew Dittman, again, Lake City Engineering, 126 East Poplar Avenue in the great city of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Here tonight representing the Anderson family and Tapley Cabinet Works. I'm going to go through a little bit of history. I had a long conversation today with Matt Anderson, who's the owner of Tapley Cabinets, and got kind of the whole history of this, and it touches on what Commissioner Lucha was asking about 1940. Where did that come from? So I got the whole skinny. So, but real quick, here's the property, again, as Tammy had said, outlined here in red. Everything you see here is the existing Tapley Cabinet facility. They own all of this property and are looking to rezone just this portion of it to light manufacturing, to, as Tammy had said, to expand their facility, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Just the same picture, I just zoomed in a little bit, so we're looking to rezone this southern third of this property here. And to answer the question, this is the parking lot right here for the school that you're asking. So here's Tapley's existing facility. The school is literally across the street. This is the existing zoning map. Everything in green there is R12. Everything in light gray is the light manufacturing. So you can see their existing facility is all already light manufacturing. We're looking to rezone this little piece here to the light manufacturing. A little bit of history. As Tammy had said, there's been a cabinet building shop at that location, according to what Matt told me today, since the late 30s. Now, their website says 1940. It was started by a gentleman by the name of Bill Boys in the late 30s. Art Tapley bought the cabinet company from him in 1946. A gentleman by the name of Mel Anderson went to work for Art Tapley as an apprentice through the GI Bill in 1946. 1957, Mel ended up buying the company from Art, kept the name Tapley Cabinet Works. We're now in the Anderson family, starting in 1957. Mel's son Norm came to work for him. Norm Anderson took over the company in 1985. Norm's son Matt went to work for him. Norm retired in 2017, and Matt took over the company now. So this truly is a third generation local Idaho business. It's just an interesting story today, and I heard the whole thing from Matt. I found it fascinating, actually. He actually told me it was a cabinet shop prior to being incorporated in the city. It actually at one point had a Gibbs, Idaho address, if anybody remembers Gibbs, Idaho. Mr. Ingles does, yeah.
I didn't know there was such
So-
a thing.
So it's been there a long, long time. It is a full production cabinet shop. They make custom cabinets there. They have a paint shop there. You can see this building right here is actually their paint shop. They put that in the late 90s. It's a full paint shop. So everything they do is 100% on site. The problem they have is they have no storage on site. No storage for incoming raw materials or no storage for finished product. They have a couple of storage units in Midtown that they have to constantly go back and forth to daily, sometimes multiple times a day, to deliver finished product before it goes to a job site or to store raw materials. So when this land came available 4 or 5 years ago, they ended up buying it. There was a house there that they demolished, and now the property's vacant. But what they're looking to do is not necessarily grow their business. There's 12 employees there now, and Matt told me that's where he wants to be. They're just looking to expand and to include some on-site storage for both raw materials and finished product, so that they're not going back and forth across town to the storage unit all the time. And it's also going to help with and alleviate some of the traffic issues. They do daily deliveries right now of raw materials, and they're coming and going with finished product to their storage unit. If everything's going to be on site and they have a big facility to store it, they're not going to need to do as many deliveries for raw materials. They're not going to need to be shipping out finished product. So from a neighborhood standpoint, it's actually going to help with the traffic. And it's strictly going to be storage. They're not going to hire any more employees and put them in there. So I've got 2 pictures up here. This is the lot that the zone change is going to go on, and this is what we want to do on the lot. I'm going to go to the next slide real quick. So this is the existing office building that Tammy showed you. So this is College Way here. This is a rendering of what we want to put there. From the front side, it'll look very residential, similar to what's next door. It'll have a garage and a front door. The garage will be a garage. It'll have some storage, and this actually will be a little bit of office for some overflow office. The whole backside you can see down here, so the topography goes down, is what makes this work, because this whole backside is going to be storage. So looking overhead, you can see there's the garage and then there's a little office up front, but the whole back is going to be storage, which is going to be accessed from behind for their materials, raw materials and their product. So right now, for example, they park there when the lumber truck comes. It parks right here in College Way. They get in their forklift and they drive up here and unload raw materials and drive it all the way around. We're hoping to eliminate some of that or alleviate some of that congestion problems by doing this. And so it makes their workflow way better, obviously, if they can keep everything back here in this existing parking lot area. And it's the topography of the land that allows us to do that, because it slopes down like that. Again, I talked about it reduces traffic, so the impact to the neighbors actually is very minimal. It's actually helping the traffic concern like you were talking about with parking. Now, yes, there will be a bit of a driveway out front, so there you will lose some of that parking. You can see these cars are parked here, but as you know, as Commissioner Ingalls said, if you put a residential house there, it's the same situation. The good news is they're not going to go hire a bunch of employees, so we're not going to need additional employee parking or anything. It's strictly storage. I think that's all I wanted to go over. So is there any questions for me?
Thank you very much. Questions? Thank you. We'll get a chance to do rebuttal if we
Thanks.
See the need. I don't see anybody in the audience. I'll ask just the same. No one signed up in person, so we'll go to the Zoom land. And do we have anyone wishing to make a comment?
So we have Linda Buck has put her name on here, but has not indicated whether she wants to testify, and I don't see her on Zoom unless she's on under a different name. So Linda, if you're on Zoom, if you can raise your hand, then we can give you the ability to speak, please. Yeah, the virtual hand, not your real hand. I'm not seeing anyone doing that, so. Again, she didn't indicate whether she wanted to testify, so it might just be observing.
We have her
And
letter.
we do have some written
We have her
comments from
letter,
her, so.
yeah.
Correct, yeah.
It's in the record.
We've got that for the record.
We've all read it.
So no other Zoom, no other public testimony? With that, Mr. Dittman, any chance to, last word?
Unless there's any additional questions for me.
Okay.
Well, the question I think made from they talked about noise, they talked about safety for kids walking, and it's very busy going and coming.
It is, so go ahead, sorry, didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
that was,
Okay.
so you get a benefit of what their
So,
concerns were.
so the noise, yes, they do operate, and Matt and I talked about that today when we talked. They try to keep their hours of operation between 7 and 4:30, which are our normal operating hours. He's pretty cognizant of that. Yes, they're gonna generate noise, like they're a light manufacturing use, you're gonna hear some saw blades going and whatnot, but not an overly excessive amount of noise.
But not anything different than is happening now.
And again, I was just gonna say, it's not anything different, so this zone change is not gonna change that. The noise is coming from the existing use that's there. This zone change is not gonna create any noise because it's simply storage for what's already there. As far as kids walking, this is actually gonna help it a little bit because when we build that, we'll be required to extend the sidewalk across our frontage and do those frontage improvements there as well. And I talked earlier about the traffic issues with the deliveries coming and going, and hopefully this will alleviate some of that.
You've come before us on many occasions, and many occasions we have people in the audience come up and talk and express their views. And you've been very successful after the meeting or during the meeting, sitting talking to the people, because I think you're very attuned to what the residents' concerns are, and you'd like to address them, or at least have understanding. So is it all right if I say, if what these people have a question, they can give you a call?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do that in every hearing I do. I try to take great notes and listen to people and try to address everybody's concerns. So
Thank you.
that's why we're here. That's what this process is all about. So
Question, Commissioner Ward? Oh, no? So, kind of a comment question, and maybe you could respond. I like what I see, the scale, the style, the residential nature, the garage in the front. It looks like a house, it looks really good. Nothing that we're gonna do tonight, this is a zone change, nothing locks that in.
Yep.
But, I don't expect this to change.
I don't either. And like I said, I'm representing the Tapley people, and they came to me and said, we want to expand. How do we do it? And so that's why I'm here. This is the way that we can get them to expand.
But for what it's worth, I like what I see
Sure.
versus what, it could be just a metal pole building,
It could be.
here,
It could be, but I'm here a lot. You guys see me, and I'm telling you, I assure you that that's what they're telling me they want to build. And they hired an architect to do those renderings. I didn't do them.
Thank
So they've spent the money and they're proceeding down that path. So
And that reflects me, someone that's been in that site since 1940.
yeah, they're not going anywhere.
I do have a quick
Go ahead.
question.
Sure.
I just thought of something,
Commissioner
and it's
Ward.
probably directed to staff. Where the sidewalk is required, as noted by Chris Bosley, is that going to need to be written into the findings as a condition, or is it
It'll be
through the
part of
planning
site
department
development.
That's
requirement?
a requirement of development. Yep.
It's a requirement of site development.
Anything else? Thank you very much. No other testimony. The public hearing testimony is closed. Any deliberation of commissioners, discussion, motion? I would ask one more time, I failed to say this up front. Are there any conflicts of interest for the record? There are none. Thank you. Commissioners?
I'll make a motion if, unless Commissioners Mandel and Rumpler
Oh,
have,
if I
let's
keep-
not
those
forget
guys are up
them.
there
Let's
somewhere
not
in
forget the
cyberspace.
Zoom folks out there.
Any
Yes.
comments out there?
I'm
Comments
good to
out
know,
there?
I'm good to go.
Good
I
to
don't
go.
have any
To the
comments or
gods.
questions. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for
folks.
remembering us, too.
I'm sorry.
I try.
Commissioner?
But with that, then, if it's all right, I would like to make a motion, this matter having come before the Planning Commission on November 10th, 2020, and there being a person present requesting approval of the zone change 7-20 from R12 to light manufacturing, the LM zoning district, the applicant being Norman Anderson of Tapley Cabinet Works, the location being College Heights, Lot 4, Block 1, known as 1609 College Way, and that is, again, specific to that 1/3 portion of the lot owned by the applicant. The findings, I make a motion that we adopt items B1 through B7. And with that, then moving on, finding B8, that this proposal is in conformance with the comprehensive plans, going over several of the various goals, the natural environment, the economic environment, the home environment, preserving the qualities that make Lake Coeur d'Alene a great place. I will make a quick comment here, and that's, I do appreciate, again, the rendition that has been proposed to keep this structure in keeping with that neighborhood feel, which does lend to its success, I believe. Administrative environment as well. So, again, I make that motion that on B8, finding B8, that the proposal is in conformance, that the public facilities and utilities are available and adequate for the proposed, and again, as noted by Chris Bosley in the street report portion of the staff reports, department reports, that the sidewalk is a requirement, and that is a good thing. Findings number B10, that the physical characteristic of the site does make it suitable for the request at this time. I mean, even though it's not fully flat, it goes toward the design elements of that structure, and it flows well to allow the access from the rear of the property to take the traffic off of College Way. Finding B11, that the proposal would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhoods in regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and or existing land uses. The trip generator, Tammy, you mentioned that they do not expect to have anything greater than one trip per day during the peak periods, and again, not having to make the additional trips to the storage unit off-site and the forklifts on College Way. I think it certainly does help address any traffic concerns that we might have. So with that, the Planning Commission, pursuant to the aforementioned, finds that the request Norman Anderson Tapley Cabinet Works for a zone change as described in the application should be approved.
Ward?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Fleming. Roll call, Shanda, please.
Fleming,
Yes?
Lutrip,
Yes,
Rumpler,
Yes,
Mandel,
Yes,
Ward.
Yes.
Thank you. That would be 5-0 unanimous recommendation to the city council to approve. Thank you, staff. Thank you, applicants, commissioners. Before we wrap up and adjourn, I had a question back to December. We have the rollover item 0220, some amendments for December. Were there any quasi-judicial hearing things?
No, we did not have any development requests, and we're also looking at scheduling on that same day an Envision Coeur d'Alene workshop with Planning Commission and CDA 2030. So we may actually look at doing that earlier in the day if that works for commission, but we'll be in touch with you. So it'll either be during the day or a regular time, but looking at the 8th. For
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn?
I just
Mr.
wanna-
Chairman,
yeah.
Comment, please.
I would, November's always a significant month for us here. And in deference to your more thorough knowledge, I'd like you to just comment for the general citizenry, the very neat program the city has of Leaf Fest. I believe that's one of the more interesting things, certainly where I live in all the trees. You were involved in this, I think, from the beginning. Give the city a pat on the back, John.
What's that?
Give the city a pat on the back.
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, it's a fun program, and I may have been the one that sort of dubbed it Leaf Fest just to try to celebrate it, I guess, a little bit, rather than it being make work. But to me, the exciting thing is that the city does some of it, but the community does some of it. You all work together, get the leaves out at the right time in the right spot. There's only time between now and the snow flies, and it already flew, to make one pass and get this all done. So it takes that cooperation.
Snowfest.
And I think Leaf Fest kind of sounds like a bunch of people in Germany doing something cool together. So, you know, drinking beer or something at Gibbs Tavern. Remember, you've been to Gibbs Tavern. Anyway, there's your history.
And I just want to say something else.
Commissioner Fleming, please.
Separate thing. These two things that came before us today We're based with two really outstanding companies in this city, and that Tapley is one of the best cabinet makers you'll find in the Northwest. And certainly, our multifamily, what you've done over history has proven itself. So we're growing, but you're addressing our growth, and that's really nice to see. So thank you.
I agree with that. I think these are two kind of feel-good zone changes. 5-0 on both of them. Unanimous recommendation to the council. I hope they see fit to pass these resoundingly. I think the missing middle on the one, and then protecting jobs. And, you know, it's not growing jobs, but it's protecting those that are there for a company that's been there since 1940. And Commissioner Luthrop, you said it a couple meetings back when we were talking about Envision Coeur d'Alene and the comp plan. You said you were surprised at all of the manufacturing. Remember, you were talking about that. And some of it's kind of tucked away like this, you know, and so I think it's really great that that's a company that I get a sense is really trying to protect their business, grow their business, but do it in a very
Generational.
but do it in a very respectful to their neighborhood manner. So kudos to you all.
Both, yeah, thank you. A motion to adjourn?
Please, thank you. Second?
Second.
We're out of here. Thank you.